Today marks tax day. It's the deadline for people to file their tax returns, but there could be major changes at the IRS that could impact future tax seasons. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp joins us live. Rachel, what are you hearing?
Well, good evening, Lindsay. So we know that the administration is looking at potential additional workforce cuts to places like the IRS. Now, I spoke with an economist about this, and he says that essentially making these cuts before simplifying the tax code is like putting the cart before the horse. According to reports, the IRS could cut as many 20,000 staffers. It's all part of the administration's efforts to reduce the size of the federal workforce and bureaucracy. According to a report from the AP, the Treasury Department says any staffing reductions are part of a larger process for improvements and tech innovations that will allow the IRS to operate more effectively.
This tax season is probably going to be less affected.
A senior policy analyst with the Tax Foundation, a nonpartisan tax policy nonprofit, believes any impacts from staffing cuts to the agency will show up a few years down the road.
It's very difficult to estimate the impact of IRS funding on enforcement and tax revenue collections because, well, if taxes aren't being collected, it's hard to develop very good data about the taxes that aren't being paid. But you can expect that you would reasonably expect some less tax revenue being collected, and in the future also lower quality service, so lower responsiveness rates and more common delays on refunds and return processing, especially if we encounter a crisis like COVID.
He adds you could theoretically justify reducing the IRS headcount if you simplify the tax code and make it dramatically easier to administrate.
I'm feeling this one, y'all. Yeah. Let's get this one going. Before we get started talking about these IRS workers that's getting fired, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up because I know you sick of the tax collector. I know you sick of paying taxes, and I know you've been hearing about what they've been doing with our tax dollars. It is a crying shame. So subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get it. The first thing I want to say is hallelujah that they are getting rid of some of these tax agents. I'm with that. Because personally, I think it's unconstitutional to be taxing us on wages. The Constitution, if I'm not mistaken, only allows for taxation on gains, dividends, investments, stuff like that. You know, y'all always talking about taxing the rich and all of that there. Well, that's what that is. Now, I'm not all for taxing the rich because I plan on being rich. But at the same time, how can you get ahead when you paying a third of the money you out here working every day for back to the government? That's like extortion. So I'm all for cutting back on the IRS workers. Hell, I'm hoping. I got my fingers crossed. How you cross your fingers? Let me see. I got my fingers crossed, hoping that Trump is doing all of this so that he can drop it on us out of the blue that he's going to end taxes. I know he floated that idea earlier right after he won. He talked about wishing that he could just do away with taxes. And if anybody could do it, and if anybody would do it, you know it would be Trump. So I'm hoping, my theory is this. In order to get rid of the taxes, you got to have money coming in, enough money coming in to fund our needs, obviously, right? And if you go back in the days when we didn't have taxes, we had tariffs that paid for everything. And the key to tariffs being able to pay for everything was we had a much smaller government. So do you see how this is kind of coming together? Trim down the government, beef up the tariffs. slowly dismantle the IRS. And they talking about simplifying the tax code. Yeah, let's simplify it to $0 from me and $0 from you so that we can use all our money towards our needs and our family's needs. That's what I'm voting for. That's what I'm hoping for. So Trump, cut their ass and get rid of these taxes. I support that 100%. So y'all let me know in the comments what you think. Do you support getting rid of taxes? Do you support getting rid of the tax code? I know it might seem unorthodox, but if we could go back to what the Constitution says, y'all want to tax the rich? Well, hey, the Constitution says you can only tax gains, and I forget what the other one is, but it's dividends of your investments. Some to that fact. I tell you what, if you know what the Constitution says, put it in the chat for us so we can know what the Constitution says, because I guarantee you it does not say that the government can tax our wages. They're not supposed to touch our wages. We're supposed to be using that money for our needs, but we got to give it back to the government. And now, the reason why they got away with taxing our wages was because during wartime, they needed that extra money, and it made sense. You know, World War II or whatever wars we was in, World War I, II, III, we ain't got to III yet, but whatever wars we were in, it made sense to tax, to give a little more so that we could better serve our needs as a country to defend ourselves. And they also instituted daylight savings time as a means of surviving, better survival during war times. But as you can see, our government likes to think that we're stupid, because in a way, we play stupid. The government does something that's not constitutional. We don't push back. They give us some excuse why they could do it, like with COVID. They violate our constitutional rights. We allow them to do it because of a legitimate reason, which made sense at the time. But as soon as the reason is gone, we don't say nothing about, hey man, take this stuff off. We supported it during the time of need, but we don't support it now. And so the government knows that we respect them so much, and we've given them our sovereignty. So whatever they decide to do, we think it's the right thing to do. And we think that there's nothing we can do about it, because we don't understand the Constitution. We don't understand our sovereignty. We don't understand our rights. So we think there's nothing we can do about it. And if they don't say nothing, we just accept it as law. So we've been getting taxed since 1913, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, prior to that, we was living off tariffs. And if you can pay attention to what's going on, Trump is trying to move us back in the direction of living off tariffs, getting money coming in. Let's generate money. Let's generate our money from countries that we help, that we give resources to. Let's generate our money. Don't take from the people who the government is supposed to be protecting and serving. So y'all let me know what you think. And we're supposed to be getting rid of that daylight savings time. And Trump said he would do it in a heartbeat. But I think the issue is, well, if you get rid of it, this side of the country going to be mad about it being too soon or being too early. That side of the country going to be mad about it being too late. So I guess as a nation, we'd have to figure out which one we want, the time going forward to stay or the time going backwards to stay. I don't know if we could ever agree on that, but I'll take either one. Y'all can have, I'm in the South. Y'all can have whatever time y'all want. Let's just put an end to that and put an end to these taxes. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Peace.